The PlayStation Store is currently running its year-end sale, and we already did a video looking at games under the price of $5. If you didn't check that one out, go ahead and look that video up. We went over some great games. This one, we're going to be looking at games under the price of $10. So essentially, we're not going below the $5 threshold again. We're looking at games essentially from $5.01 up to $9.99. Quite a few great games at that price threshold, so we got 13 games to go over, so without further ado, I'm going to hit each of these games relatively quickly, so let's get right into it. First up, everybody's excited for Ratchet Clank Rift Apart. Well, why don't you go back and play Ratchet Clank 2016 if you have yet to. That is 50% off for $9.99. This is a ground-up remake of the very first Ratchet Clank game. All the humor is intact, the zany weapons are there, the platforming's great. I love this game, would strongly recommend it. It was a PlayStation Plus title like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, but I imagine at this point a lot of you guys missed out on that, so $9.99 for this I think is excellent. Go buy that. For fighting game fans, Dragon Ball FighterZ is down to $9.59. Now, if you're a Dragon Ball fan, you're gonna enjoy Dragon Ball FighterZ than a non-fan, but also fundamentally as a fighting game, it is just a really well-made game. There's a reason why this Dragon Ball game is the one to really explode in terms of the esports scene and things like that, and you know, you can look at the other Dragon Ball games and they're not really built for, let's say, a competitive landscape, but Dragon Ball FighterZ definitely is. But if you also want to just play it casually with friends, you can absolutely do that. You guys know me, I'm not big into the competitive scene in fighting games anymore. That was like me 10 years ago. I've kind of moved on from that, but I still enjoy playing fighting games, and Dragon Ball FighterZ is one that I can enjoy really easily, maybe because also I grew up with Dragon Ball, so that nostalgia element is absolutely there. But you're not talking to someone that's a crazy big Dragon Ball fan. Like, I'm not watching Dragon Ball Super, or I watched a little bit of it, but that's usually when friends come over and they just put it on. I'm not like super into that scene anymore, but Dragon Ball FighterZ is a game that I thoroughly enjoyed. Let's stay on the topic of Dragon's Crown Pro is 60% off for $7.99. This game is done by Vanillaware. If you want a quality 2D action RPG with great visuals, this is going to be a great pickup. $8 for it is also ridiculously good. It was going for like $15 for a while on sale, but now at $8, I think this is such a good pickup. Also has cooperative play if you do want to enjoy that, but if you want to play it solo, you can do that as well. Go pick that up for just $8. I think that's a really good buy. For Souls fans or just people looking for a action-oriented, difficult title, Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin is 75% off for $9.99. Many consider Dark Souls 2 to be the weakest of the Dark Souls franchise. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I still thought Dark Souls 2 was a relatively good game. This version obviously enhanced for the PlayStation 4, and it runs really well, and Dark Souls 2 I still think is a pretty solid game, and at $9.99 I think it's a pretty good pickup. Dark Souls 3 probably the best game in my opinion, but DS2 I also thought was pretty good. Next up we have Borderlands Game of the Year Edition, 67% off for $9.89. Borderlands 1 I really enjoyed. I had a great time with Borderlands 1. I beat it with friends, I beat it alone, and I beat it quite a few times at this point. It's a great game. This PlayStation 4 version makes it even better, enhances some of the element, and brings some of the Borderlands 2 UI to Borderlands 1, and that's great. $9.89 I think is a solid pickup for this. Really, Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2, Borderlands 3, they're all pretty good games. They're all fundamentally pretty similar, and they all offer great gameplay and quite a bit of replayability as well. $9.89 for this I think is great. Next up we have .hackgu Last Recode. This is 80% off for $9.99. HackGU, man, I have some fond memories of this. I was one of the shills that ended up dropping $40 a piece for each of the HackGU games. They came out as 3 separate titles, and if you wanted the entire story, yes, you had to buy all 3 games. That was a lot of money, but now you can get all 3 episodes in one collection with HackGU, and you get a 4th smaller episode with Last Recode. $9.99 for that is pretty good. Gameplay shows its age a little bit, but I still think the narrative is incredibly strong. You got some stiff animations here and there, but if you want a narrative-driven JRPG with great characters, I think Last Recode is something you guys are going to really enjoy, and HackGU in general. Hopefully at some point they bring back the original 4 Hack games and remastered them for PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5. Because those titles, if you want them on PlayStation 2, they are so expensive, so we could use a remaster of that. But for now, Last Recode for $9.99 is a great pickup. Next up, Rise of the Tomb Raider 20-year celebration, 80% off for $6. In my opinion, of the Tomb Raider games released since the reboot, this is the best game. Gameplay is so good, and the story is pretty solid as well. Story is where SOTR really kind of lacked. I thought SOTR was a good game, but ROTR, in my opinion, is the better, more well-rounded game, and $6 for it I think is so good. The 20-year celebration edition is pretty solid as well, get quite a bit of content with all of that as well, and again, $6, no-brainer there, definitely worth a pickup. Also $6, Dishonored Definitive Edition. I'm super high on Dishonored, I always give it a recommendation. I picked it up when it initially came out back in 2012, I want to say, and it was a great game then, whether you want to play it guns blazing, hack-and-slash action way, or you actually want to go a little bit stealthy, you want to take your time and things of that nature, offers you a variety of different ways to play, and it's aged very, very well. Great art style here, solid story. Dishonored 2 is the better game in my opinion, but Dishonored 1 still holds up rather well, and for $6 you can't go wrong with that. Next up, we have The Last Remnant Remastered for $9.99. This was a JRPG that released all the way back in 2008, and it was an Xbox 360 console exclusive, so you typically didn't see that. Last Remnant was a solid game, however, it really suffered from technical issues back in the day. Obviously, on the PlayStation 4, that has been remedied quite a bit. I thought it had a really unique gameplay system, but it does take a little bit of time for you to actually, you know, figure it out. Has a little bit of a learning curve, but for $9.99, I think it's a great pickup, and I would give it a recommendation. If you want something that's a little bit more of a unique JRPG, I think you're gonna have a good time with Last Remnant Remastered, so go ahead and give that a pickup. Next up, survival horror fans, Alien Isolation is down to $5.99, another pretty good pickup here. If you're a fan of horror titles, even though, you know, I didn't get too invested in the horror elements of this game in the latter portions. However, if you want a game that is very, very atmospheric, I think you're going to have a good time with Alien Isolation. I should also note the collection is $7.99. That includes some additional content, and I definitely recommend that, so solid pickups there as well. Next up, let's stay on the same trend. Resident Evil Revelations is 60% off for $8. I loved Resident Evil Revelations. It was originally released on the Nintendo 3DS. Then it got remastered on just about every platform. It got released on Switch, I think PS3, 360, Nintendo Wii U, and obviously it's on the PlayStation 4 as well. Might not be the best Resident Evil title, however, this one is one that always gets lost in the shuffle because its initial release was on the 3DS. Give it a look if you've never played Revelations. You're probably going to really enjoy it if you're a fan of the Resident Evil titles. Quality game here, and the PlayStation 4 version is pretty solid. Next up, another great JRPG that I always go to bat for, Valkyria Chronicles Remastered is 70% off for $6. Valkyria Chronicles is just fantastic. Yes, it doesn't have like an overworld for you to explore or anything like that. It's not this open world grandiose title. The entire story is told through the use of an awesome storybook look. You go through this storybook, has this awesome watercolor art style, great characters, great gameplay, and I'm not the biggest fan of strategy RPGs, but this one has that tactical element to it, and I got really into it. Valkyria Chronicles 1 does not have difficulty options like Valkyria Chronicles 4. Some people find it to get a little bit challenging, but honestly, it's not that hard, and that makes the game quite a bit rewarding. So yeah, VC1, great game. It's $6, strong recommendation. There is a bundle with VC1 and VC4 for like $16. That's not a bad pickup, and I definitely give that a look if you want to get both games. Lastly, do want to give a shout to Zone of the Enders, the second runner, Mars, 75% off for $7.49. I always talk about how we need more quality mech games on the market. Zone of the Enders was a really good one, and for $7.49, it's great. I wish they released it in a collection so you got Zone of the Enders 1 as well, but hey, better than nothing. I really hope at some point we get a PS4 port of that Nintendo Switch mech title that I am totally forgetting the name of, Daemon X Machina. I hope we get a PS4 port of that. That's on PC as well. Nevertheless, at this point, Zone of the Enders, the second runner, it's a relatively short game, but for $7.49, I think you get quality where it's worth, so definitely would give that a pickup if you are looking for a good mecha title. That's going to conclude this video. Again, a lot of great deals available right now. I do have an inkling that another PSN sale is going to start very soon, quite possibly tomorrow. So we'll see how all that shakes out, but you know how Sony is. They're always going to be running sales. Some really good deals available right now. That's going to wrap up this one. Probably going to do one more video on this sale, but sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.